So in the previous session, we have seen some of the WebDriver commands, like application related commands, like title, get page source, get page URL. And then we have seen how to use browser commands like close and quit. What are the difference between close and quit? And also we have seen navigational commands like back, forward, refresh. And after that, we have seen differences between find element and find elements and so on, right? So today we are going to discuss another category of commands, wait commands. Most important, listen this carefully, wait commands. So before discussing wait commands, we need to know something called synchronization problem. So every automation tool will have this kind of problem. And basically to solve the synchronization problem, we use wait commands. Okay. So first let us understand what is synchronization problem. Okay. So normally when you run your application, when you start your automation script, right? When you start execution of your automation script, let us say I have written multiple lines of code like this. And when you try to execute your automation script, normally what happens, these statements will execute on the browser. So let's say I have a browser like this is my application, right? So in this application, all the statements will be executed one by one, right? Like this. And suppose particular statement is required, a particular element on the web page, for example, or particular statement, if you want to execute a particular web page is required, or particular element is present, it should be present on the web page. And if the element is present, then only this statement will execute and proceed further. In this particular situation, what happens is sometimes or most of the times your script execution is very faster than your application response. So again, application performance will be poor. In those cases, what happens is your script will not wait for that. So your script will definitely will fail. And that is synchronization problem. So there will not be sync between your application and your code or your script. And how we can solve these problems? We have two chances. Either we have to improve the speed of application, or we have to pass your code for some time. Meanwhile, application will be loaded completely. Because here speed of the application again depends on multiple factors, right? So we cannot control the speed of application immediately. So there are multiple factors are there. So what are those factors? So we have normally is sometimes what happens, many people are accessing the application. Obviously performance becomes slow, and also depends upon like network speed, right? So we cannot completely have control on the application speed. So instead of doing that, we can have control on the automation scripts. So we can pass our code for some time, like meanwhile our application will be displayed, and then we will proceed with the actions. So this is a problem with the synchronization. Actually, this is a synchronization problem. So to overcome this problem, we have to use a wait commands from Selenium WebDriver. Okay. So now we'll see how we can work with the wait commands in Selenium WebDriver. What are the different types of waits are available, how we can use them. So before that, let me just show you. Let me just connect to the PyChamp. And before that, let me just tell what are the different wait statements are available in Selenium WebDriver. So mainly there are two kinds of waits are available. One is called implicit wait, and the second one is called explicit wait. Okay, but in Selenium Java, we also have something called fluent wait, which is another flavor of explicit wait. But in the Selenium with Python, we have only two, implicit wait and explicit wait. So these are two kinds of waits are available. And each wait statement is having their own advantages and disadvantages. And before that, instead of using wait statements, sometimes we can also use Python time module. So time dot sleep also we can use, and here we can specify some time in the milliseconds. But this is not exactly wait time, this is related to Python. Okay, but these are the only two wait statements are supported in Selenium WebDriver. So time dot sleep is not it is a wait statement, but it will just pass your code. It is not, we cannot say it is actually wait statement. Okay, now let us see each and every option advantages and disadvantages, because this is a very important entry question people will ask you. So what is a synchronization problem, how we can solve it, what are the different types of waits are available, what is the advantages and disadvantages of each and every wait statement. Okay, now so let me just go to the PyChamp. Just a moment, guys. So let's open my PyChamp. Now here, let me create a new directory. Okay, so directory name is, let's say, day 16. All right, so I'm just creating a new Python file. I'll name it as Implicit Weight. Okay, so now it is created a new file called Implicit Weight. Now here I'm just writing, and if there is any synchronization problem, and to solve the synchronization problem, we will use wait statements. That's the main usage of or main purpose of using wait statements, but not on day-to-day basis. On every script is not required most of the times, but sometimes if your application is very slow and it is not that much stable, in those cases, try to insert this wait commands. Otherwise, not at all required. So first of all, to use wait statement application, we need to a synchronization problem should be there, and then only wait statement, the action of the wait statement, how exactly wait statement is handling that problem, we will able to see that. Okay, but here we cannot reproduce the scenario on the application because we cannot make application speed up or down. So most of the applications normal speed will be within 1 or 2 seconds. The pages and elements will be ready. So in those cases, you will not see any synchronization problem. But in very rare cases, when you see the synchronization problem, just add those synchronization points in your automation script. So that will automatically solve it. So I'll just show you one example how to use this implicit weight and explicit weight in our automation code, where we have to insert, how to insert, what is the syntax. So we need to learn that. So first, let me just import Webdriver stuff and Webdriver module and service module and by module. Specify the location of driver and driver instance we created. So here, I'll just specify one application. I say driver.get, and I'm trying to open google.com page. And most of the times when you get the synchronization problem, so when you search for something on your application, so the data should come from the server, from the remote machine. So whenever that takes some time, like response is getting delayed, so in those scenarios or those places, there is a chance of getting the synchronization problem. So I just want to Google the application. So I'll show you scenario exactly. Let me open it. Okay, so after that, I'll try to maximize the application. I say driver dot maximize window. Now observe this. As soon as you open this window, as already we sent this URL and we got the page, Google page, right? So here I want to search for something called Selenium like this. I enter something here and then I press enter key on the same search box, enter key. As soon as you search enter key, what will happen here is that search keyword will go to the server and fetch all the pages which are available on the server and will give you the response in the form of different links here, suggested links, everything will be displayed on this page, right? So this takes some time. Not every time happens. I can't say every time happens, but sometimes will happen like this. Okay, you will get the data from the server. It takes some time. So there is a chance of getting the synchronization problem. So you need to identify where exactly chance is there for getting the synchronization problem. So in those places, you can add some wait statement, something like this. And normally what we can do, let us assume. So let me just pass some value into the text box. Let us try to inspect this element. So as soon as you inspect this element, you can see this input box and there are multiple attributes are there. The name is also available. So name equal to Q. So by using this locator, I'll try to find that element. I say driver dot find element by dot name and specify the name. And inside this, I'm just passing the key directly. I'm not storing this element in any other variable. I just want to pass the value directly. So here I'll say Selenium. Okay, so I'm just saying Selenium. So on the same text box, as soon as you pass some value like this, I just want to press enter key. Okay, so from my keyboard, I want to perform that action. From my keyboard, I want to press enter key. I just want to submit the text. So for that also, we can directly use one method called submit method. So on whichever element you want to press enter key, you can simply take, it's called submit method. So which will perform the enter key action. So whatever action will be performed when you press enter key on your keyboard, the same action will be performed by using this method. The element is same. So whichever element we have identified, on the same element, we are passing the value, then we are submitting it. This is another way to submit the value. So instead of writing this multiple times, what I will do is I can just store this in one variable. Let me call it as a search box. And I will replace this variable whenever you want to refer the element. So that is the main advantage of creating the variable. So once you create the variable for that web element, you can use that variable multiple times. Okay. So we have passed some value in it and then we submitted. And after submitted, what will happen? So which will give you multiple links on the web page. So I'm just as submitted. Here it is taking some time. And after that, what happens? Which will give you a number of links which are available in the page. Now here my requirement is, even though we have multiple links are available, so like this with the Selenium keyword, so I want to search for exactly the link which the name of the link is Selenium. Exactly Selenium name should be there for the link. But the other links are also there, like Selenium project and some other links are also there, but I don't want to go with those links. I just want to select the link which is having name as a which is having link text as a Selenium. And sometimes this link will display the first position of the page. Sometimes it will display the middle of the page. Sometimes it will display the end of the page. The position is not matter. So wherever it is displayed on the page, I want to go to that element. I want to find it. So how we can do that? So here we have to write our customized XPath, which will exactly pointing to this element. Wherever it is on the page, it should go and find that element. So let me just write one XPath for this element, inspect this element, and go to the selector hub. Or if a selector hub is not available, you can just say Control F and you can try writing your XPath. And if I just look at here, this is a H3 tag is there. For this element, H3 tag is there. And this is a link text actually, right? Selenium is a link text, but there is no anchor tag here. But inside this, there is a IMG tag. IMG is there, but inside this IMG, there is a link target page link is available. So only with the H3, we will able to access. Now let me just write an XPath here. I say H3. Okay, H3 I said. So now you can see totally 18 elements are matching. / H3 means / is representing what? Relative XPath. Now with the H3 is a tag name. So now this relative XPath / H3 is pointing to all H3 tags, which are almost 18 elements are there. But which element we need? We need the link text which contains the Selenium. So for that, what you can do is we will use text method. We can use text method. So we already use at the rate you should not use, only text. We have discussed start with contains text, right? So here we can use text method. So text equal to simply we can say Selenium. So the value is Selenium. We are providing the exact value here, not contains or start with. So when you say this, this is exactly matching this element. Now, even though this element location is got changed in the speech, wherever it is, this particular XPath will go and find it. Okay, first it will fetch all the H3 tags, all the elements which are having H3. Among them, again, it will go and fetch whichever the link is having text equal to Selenium, it will go and identify it. So now I'm trying to use this XPath to find this Selenium element. How we can find it? Driver.find element, and here specify by dot XPath, specify that XPath. And here I want to perform the click action. So double quotations, inside the double quotations are not allowed. So just keep only single quotations. And here I want to perform the click action. So I'll say one more bracket. I say dot click. Okay, now this will go and perform the click action. Now let me just run this code for now. So I'm just running it. But normally 99% of times you will not get any synchronization problem. But in the real time, when you work with the real applications, sometimes you will see synchronization problems. Now it is going well. So it is entering the value, press enter. Now it is trying to click on the first element. And now we got the target page. Because when you click on the first link, it is given the actual page, right? Everything goes well. But assume that sometimes when you pass this value, when you submit it, because when you say submit, this will send a request to the server and take some time to get the data from the server. And again, response will come to the presentation layer and then it will display on the UI. So it takes some time, fraction of seconds, and there are chances of getting the synchronization problem. But suppose what this statement is referring, this statement is looking for this element on the page. And by the time this statement is executing, if this is element which is still not available or still it is loading on the page, then what happens? This particular statement will definitely throw the exception. Like no such element will be thrown. That is not because of element is not available. That time it is taking some time to load. By the time this statement is executed, the element is not available and it's slowly loading on the page. So in those cases, there is a chance of getting the synchronization problem. So normally what you can do is you can simply say time module. One way to solve this problem, you can say time dot sleep and you can specify some time here. So time is a module which is a predefined module from Python. So we need to import this time module. And basically it is not showing any suggestion also, but you have to enter this time module manually by using import keyword. Import, I said time. Okay. And then error is gone. So this is a one way to stop your script after clicking on the submit here. Then you're stopping for 5 minutes. Meanwhile, this element will be displayed and perform the action. This is a one way we can pause your script for some time and then the next action will be performed after 5 seconds. Okay, now let me just execute and see the difference. And we need to understand here how time.sleep is working. See this, we have entered that value and now the first link is already available. But still, even though it is available, it is not directly clicking on that element. After 5 seconds, it will perform the action. After 5 seconds only, it is performing the action. And two things you have to notice here. The first is, after clicking on the submit, immediately this element is available. But even though this element is available, still it is waiting 5 seconds here. After completion of 5 seconds only, this statement will be executed. So, right? So basically what this statement is doing, this is just pausing your code for some time and then proceeding with the next statement. So this is time.sleep. So this is actually, we should not say the sleep command, which is not from Webdriver. This is only from Python. It's available in Python only. But what is an advantage and a disadvantage of this statement is, wherever the synchronization problem is there, so we can simply add this statement. Wherever you can add 10 times. If your script is having 1000 lines of code, 10 times, wherever the synchronization problem is there, you can just simply add this statement. But the problem with this statement is, we set 5 seconds here, right? So even though the element is available within 2 seconds or 3 seconds, still it will wait for maximum timeout here, 5 seconds. And after that only it will continue with the next statement. Like this, if you just put these statements in 10 places, 10 5s or 50 seconds will be wasted. That means your script performance will be reduced. Your execution speed automatically reduced when you add more number of time.sleep statements. So that is a biggest problem. And the other problem is, suppose if the element is still not available within the 5 seconds, because the time we specified is a static time, constant value. So if the element is still not available within 5 seconds, then also you have a chance of getting an exception. Okay, so both the sides, there is a problem with this. But the main problem with this time.sleep is performance will be reduced. Performance of the script will be poor, or we can say script performance of the script is very poor. So that's the reason we should not use this one. Okay, that's the one problem. And then the second problem is what? Second problem is what? If the element is not available within the time we mentioned, within the time mentioned, still there is a chance of getting an exception. So still there is a chance of getting exception. So these are the two problems which we have in the time.sleep. So, but at the time of designing, you can still use it. After that, you can replace with all implicit weights. But initial level, we can also use time.sleep. We can specify the time in seconds. Time in seconds. And wherever the synchronization problem is occurred, so we need to insert this point. Time.sleep command, we have to add multiple places. Right. So now let's see the implicit weight. So actually implicit is come from the Selenium WebDriver. So Selenium WebDriver is provided especially implicit and explicit, because to work with these weight statements, we need to work with the elements directly. We are interacting with the elements. So now we'll see how to work with the implicit weight. So here, let me just comment this time.sleep. So let's see how to use implicit weight on your script. So implicit, if you want to use, what you will do is, as soon as you created your driver instance, after that, you can just specify driver dot implicitly underscore weight, and here you can just specify the maximum timeout is 10. You can give any number time here, maximum. You can say 10 is a optimal size. So you can say 10. So this is 10 is a seconds actually. Okay. So 10 is a seconds. This is a insertion of implicit weight. This is actual implicit weight. But why I have inserted this weight at the beginning of the code? We are expecting synchronization problem here, right? But instead of inserting that synchronization point here, why we have inserted that at the beginning of the code? There is a reason. So whenever you created this implicit weight, right? So unless this driver is got quit or the driver is killed by some other process, this implicit weight is always works, always available. That means it is always alive. So unless you do driver.quit or driver.close, when you do those two commands, automatically implicit weight also will be automatically killed. The process will be killed. So when you just write one statement at the beginning, this implicit weight is applicable for all the statements in your script. So that's the biggest advantage of implicit weight. So once you add this implicit weight, a single statement that is applicable for all the statements. That means wherever the synchronization problem occurred, this will automatically take care of it. Suppose there are 5 different pages you want to navigate, and there are some chances of getting the synchronization problem 3 or 4 different places. Then you don't need to add the statement all those 4 places. You don't need to recognize them also. Simply write one statement after completion of the driver instance. That's it. So this will automatically take care of synchronization problem. So wherever it is occurred, doesn't matter. Okay. So that's the reason always try to specify this statement as soon as you create your driver instance. Clear, everyone? Suppose if you put this statement here, then what happens is still it will work. But here it will work from here. From here, bottom of the statement, whatever statements are newly created, this implicit weight is applicable for all the statements which are created here. These are all statements are applicable. This implicit weight is applicable for all these statements. Okay, so that's how it will work. Wherever we have started this implicit weight, from there, it will apply for all the statements, all the below statements. So instead of writing here, what you will do is we will just specify at the beginning of the code itself, as soon as the driver is created. So as soon as your driver is created, we can just insert the implicit weight here. And that is applicable for all the commands. And it doesn't mean every statement will wait 10 seconds. No, it will not wait like that. Every statement will not wait 10 seconds. So what does it mean is wherever the synchronization problem is occurred, for example, I'm looking for this element here. If the element is not available within 5 seconds or 7 or 8 seconds, still our script will wait for this element because we specified maximum timeout 10 here. So that will work here. That will start working here. So it will wait 10 seconds for this element. As soon as the element is available, immediately it will go and execute the code. And every time, one more important thing is, every time it will not wait for maximum timeout. Suppose this element is taking 5 seconds to display, immediately the next statement will start executing. So it will not wait for the maximum timeout every time. So performance issues will not be there. The speed of the application will not be reduced, like time.sleep. The time.sleep, what happens? It is waiting for maximum timeout until unless the time is completed, it is not proceeding with the next statement. But here it is not like that. Whichever statement is waiting for some element, if the element is, as soon as the element is available, immediately it will go and execute the next statement. So these are the two biggest advantages. One advantage is one single statement will able to handle synchronization problem throughout your script. You don't need to add multiple statement. Second advantage is it will wait for maximum 10 seconds for the element. And if the element is available within that time, it will go and execute the next statement as usual. So these are the two main advantages of implicit wait statement. So let me just, and what is the default time of implicit wait is 0. Okay, we have to increase that number. How much number you can increase? You can increase any number. It doesn't make any sense. Like if I say 10 or 100, it doesn't make any sense. Because most of the times we don't say 100 and 200 because we don't wait those many number of seconds. Okay, maximum standard is 10 seconds. If the element or web page should be loaded within 10 seconds maximum. If it is taking more than 10 seconds, you have to directly report the performance bug. Okay, so that's a standard we follow in the industry. So we can just specify 10 seconds here. All right, so this is how we can just add implicit wait as soon as you created your driver instance. And from then onwards, all the statements will be taken care by this implicit wait. Until unless you close your driver, until unless you quit from your driver like .quit, and then only the implicit wait will stop. Otherwise, it will keep on running for every element. Okay, so this is how implicit wait works. Let me just execute. And you will not see any difference, but if there is any synchronization problem, you will see the difference. In the coming sessions, I will show you a few scenarios. We will use this implicit wait very frequently, so you will be able to understand very clearly. Just here, understand how to use it, how to insert, and what is the syntax of implicit wait. So it is executed as usual. We haven't faced any issues. So only single time statement is required. Only one time I have to insert at the beginning of the code. And then this will automatically take care of all the synchronization problem. And with this implicit wait, we don't have any performance issues. We don't have any like performance of your code will not be reduced. So they are the two advantages of implicit wait. The first advantage is, these are the disadvantages, guys. Okay. And what is an advantage of time.sleep? It is very simple to use. Other than that, we cannot see any disadvantage for this. The first advantage is simple to use, and disadvantage. So these are the two disadvantages, right? Now come to implicit wait. So in implicit, what are the advantage? The first one, single statement. Single statement we can include. And the second one advantage is what? Performance will not be reduced, right? But still there is one problem here. Performance is not to be reduced. Why? Because it will not wait for if the element is available. Suppose if the element is available within the time, it will proceed to execute the next statement. It proceed to execute next statements or further statements. Okay, so these are the two advantages. Now, what is the disadvantages? Only one disadvantage. What is that? Still, if the element is not loaded within 10 seconds, right? If the element is still not available within 10 seconds, still there is a chance of getting an exception. So that problem is still there. So this problem is still there in the implicit wait also. Okay, so this is still there. But how we can handle this? We can just keep this statement in the try catch block, because I don't want to interrupt the program, right? Unexpectedly, I don't want to exit from the program. Even though this statement is throwing some exception, if I put it in the try catch block, and the rest of the statements will be executed. So that's the only solution here. So this is still there. Disadvantage is still there. So this is the implicit wait. Simple syntax like driver dot implicitly wait, implicit underscore wait and 10. So this simple syntax of implicit wait. Okay. Now we'll see the explicit wait. So in implicit wait, we specify the time. So time, right? So this is maximum time. So whenever the synchronization problem is occur, that particular statement, like this will wait for maximum 10 seconds. Our script will wait for the element maximum 10 seconds. So here the implicit wait works based on the time we specified. So how much time is specified, and that much of time it will wait. And if the element is still not loaded within the time, it will exit from here and it will proceed. It will throw some exception because that element is still not loaded within the 10 seconds. So that's how implicit wait works, because this is completely based on the time. Okay. And that we have to specify. But in explicit wait, we use condition. We still use time, but above the time, we also specify something called condition. So condition will play more important role than time in explicit wait. So what is that time? So what is that condition? Like element to be clickable, or element to be present, or element to be located. So like this, there are so many conditions are there. So by specifying those conditions, we can wait for the element till it is displayed. Suppose here I just specify some time here, 10 seconds, but we don't know whether how much time the element will take. Maybe it will take less time, or maybe it will take more time, more than 10 seconds, right? But here, if I just wait randomly, like element, or I'm waiting for some element. If I ask you how much time you will wait, you cannot say I am waiting for that element. Whenever it comes, then I will perform the action. So here we are not exactly specifying the time, but you are saying some condition. What is that condition? I will wait for the element. So that's the condition. I will wait for some element, or wait for element located. I wait for element displayed, or I'll wait for element to be clickable. You are saying some condition there, not time. So that is explicit wait actually. Okay, so it works based on the condition. So explicit wait works based on the condition. That's the most important one. So explicit wait works based on condition. So now for that, we need to use a special class. Explicit wait class is there. Webdriver wait class is there. We have to create an object. So some lengthy process is available. So let me just show you one practical example. Then we'll come back and discuss. Okay, so let me just create another Python file. I'll name it as explicit wait. Right, so now I'm taking the same example, copy this. So I just remove the implicit wait. Right, I removed everything. So I don't have any wait statements in this script. Everything is clean. Now I want to add explicit wait. So as I said beginning, what I said, explicit wait works based on the condition, not based on the time. Explicit wait works based on the condition, but not based on the time. And when I say condition, we need that element. So why you are waiting? If I ask you, you are waiting for the element, you say I am waiting for the element. What is that element? You have to know before itself, right? So let me just say something here. As soon as you create your driver instance, here we have to create something called, we have a special class called Webdriver wait class. Webdriver wait class. So this is again predefined class, which is available in Selenium Webdriver. And this will take two arguments. It will take two arguments. One is our driver instance, whichever you created above. And the second one is a time, maximum timeout. But this is not the explicit wait. Remember, okay? The explicit wait contains two parts. One is a declaration. The second one is a utilization. Declaration, or we can say usage. Both are two different aspects we need to understand here. So here I'm just declaring the explicit wait. And later I'll show you how to use this explicit wait. So at the time of declaration, we use Webdriver wait, driver comma. We have to specify some time here. I'll tell you what is this time. So import this Webdriver wait from this package. So there is a new import class will be imported here, Webdriver wait, which is there inside this package, right? So now I create one object for this Webdriver wait. What is an object? I'll name it as a my wait. So this is called explicit wait declaration. Explicit wait declaration. This is not enough. Okay, just we are declaring it. Declaration. So once you declare this, whenever you want to put explicit weight, we have to use this object. All the conditions also we will able to access through this object only. So now I just want to wait for this element. So this is the element I want to wait for, right? So what you will do is here, as soon as you do submit, I am not going to find the element here. So find element is also inclusive in the explicit weight. When I use explicit weight, you don't need to use find element method. When I use explicit weight, you don't need to use find element method, because find element is a inclusive in the explicit weight. I'll tell you how. So here I'm just writing the locator and don't perform any action for now. This is just a locator, right? So keep it like this. Now here I'll write something. I already created Webdriver, explicit Webdriver object, right? So my weight declaration. Take that object dot. Here we have to specify a condition. How to specify the condition? Using until. Let me write the whole statement first, and then I'll explain each and every point here. My weight dot until. There is a special class called EC. Expected condition. EC is representing expected condition. EC dot. And here we will be able to access all the conditions. But it is not providing any conditions as soon as I say EC dot, right? It should give. Why it is not giving? Because we have to import this EC class also, first of all. So from where we have to import this EC class, which will give you different import packages. But if it is not providing proper suggestion, you have to import properly. I'll tell you here. So EC we have to import from here. Okay, so actually expected conditions is a module. And I'm just giving one alias. As EC means what? Instead of writing this much in everywhere, I'm just representing this as an alias. So alias means what? This is another name of expected condition. Instead of in the Python, this is a choice which we have. Suppose there are certain classes or certain objects which is having a lengthy name. We can just give some alias to that, and with that alias we can actually representing this module expected conditions. So in the Python they have designed like this. So EC is actually alias of this expected condition. So we can use this EC. So now EC dot. When I say EC dot, now we can see there are so many conditions are populated here. Like alert is present, element located, selection state, element located to be selected, element selection state to be, and here you can say element to be clickable, element to be selectable. There are so many conditions are there. So many are there. So we need to select a proper condition. So what is our objective here? I want to wait for the element. I want to wait for the element. So you need to specify one condition. So what is the condition you can specify? Like say presence of element located. So I can say one condition here. Dot presence of element located. And which element? That also we have to specify, right? Which element? This is an element. So not this one. This is an element. Because it is also required a locator. So that I can pass inside this. So now let us try to understand the whole statement. It's very simple. Listen carefully. My weight is a Webdriver weight class object. So we already created at the beginning. And through that object, I called one method called until. Until means what? It is representing one condition. Until this is actual condition. The whole thing is a condition. So my weight dot until this condition should be true actually. So until method will wait till this condition becomes true. So if when this condition becomes true, if this element is present on the web page or presence of element located, this is the name of the condition, right? Presence of element located means what? Whenever this element is located and presence, which is present on the web page, then this condition becomes true. As soon as this condition becomes true, then what happens? This whole statement will return that web element. And then we can just create one variable to store that web element. So haven't used any find element method in this statement. We haven't used. You can see find element method we have not used. Why? Because the locator itself is a part of or inclusive inside this Webdriver weight or inside this explicit weight. So this is actual condition. If this condition is satisfied, then this will return element. So until that element is available, until this condition is satisfied, it will not return the element. So it is basically waiting for this element. As soon as the element is available, so this statement will return that element stored in this variable. So here we have not specified time also. It is just based on the condition. And if this condition is satisfied, when this condition is satisfied, again, this element is present. That this condition is representing that. This method is representing that presence of element located. Sometime element to be clickable. We have to wait till the element is clickable, and that is action. If it is a clickable, then perform the action. So there are multiple conditions are there. So visibility of the element, okay, or title contains. Okay, there are so many conditions are element to be selected. So all the conditions we can access only through EC dot. And three things are happening here. The first thing is this condition should be satisfied. When this condition should be satisfied, if the element is available, then the condition should be satisfied. And once the condition is satisfied, what happens? It will return the element into the variable. And then we can get this element and then perform the action. Searching dot click. Okay. So this is how explicit weight works. Actually, this is a usage of explicit weight, and this is a declaration. Now here there are multiple questions will come. Suppose if the element is not at all available on the page, maybe assume that there is a bug in your application. This element is not there on the web page. Okay, not there in the web page. What will happen? That's the first thing. Second thing is, at the beginning I told you explicit weight works based on the condition but not based on the time. But why we specify the time here? Why we specify the time? Why time is required? So these are the two open questions. Now let me just clarify this. Listen carefully, most important. Here, this is actual condition, right? Which is basically waiting for the element to be located or element to be present on the web page. Suppose the element is not at all there in your application. There is a bug, assume that. Now, is this condition will satisfy or not? This condition will never ever satisfy. If this condition is satisfied, then only it will return the element and exit, and next statement will be executed. If the element itself is not available for the long time, this condition will never becomes true. That means what happens? Your cursor, your execution will stop here itself. This statement keep on waiting for the element. Because element is not available, it will never becomes true. As soon as it becomes true, it will never exit. But at certain point of time, we have to exit from the statement. At a certain point of time, we have to exit from the statement. Like, so you can say, I'll give a simple example, guys. You will be able to understand. Let's say there are two friends. They wanted to meet at one place here. Let's say there is a park, and these two friends should come from the different places, and they wanted to meet exactly in the sharply 5 p.m. in this place. Okay. Now the first friend exactly came in the 5 p.m. at the same place. He's waiting. He's waiting for what? Another friend to become, right? So he is from again different place, and this guy is waiting for his friend, and they have decided to come at sharply 5 p.m. But one guy already came at 5 p.m. sharp, and he is waiting for what? Another friend. So this is a condition. He is exactly waiting for another friend. This is a condition. So this statement is waiting for what? This element. Till then, it is makes sense. Now, this friend is not came within 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 30 minutes. Will he wait for 1 hour, 2 hours, 30 minutes like this for him? He will not wait for long time, right? So if he is not come within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, something happened to him and there is some problem with him, so that he is not came in that exactly 5 p.m. or 5:10 or 5:15. So if this guy is waiting for him like 15 minutes or 30 minutes or 1 hour, it doesn't make any sense. So he has to wait for certain time, like he will again wait for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, max 15 minutes. If still this guy is not available, then he has to go back. It doesn't mean like he will wait for 30 minutes or 1 hour. If he wait 1 hour, it doesn't make any sense, right? The same thing will happen here. So this condition should be satisfied if the element is available. If the element itself is not available on the web page, if there is any bug, then it doesn't make any sense. Still we waiting for the element. So at certain point of time, this is, we can call it as a cutoff time. At certain point of time, if the element is still not available, we have to exit from this statement and then continue with the rest of the statements. For that, we specify this cutout time. Okay. So now if the element is not at all loaded, how much time it will wait for that element? Maximum 10 seconds it will wait. And then if the element is still not loaded, so there is a bug in your application, so it will go back and execute the rest of the statements. So that's how we need to specify. That's the reason we specify the maximum timeout. It doesn't mean like it will wait for 10 seconds every time. No, it will not wait for 10 seconds every time. Still, it is waiting for the element only. If the element is not there because of various reasons, so then automatically after 10 seconds, the time will be expired. So then it will go to the next statement. So this is how explicit works. Explicit wait statement works. Okay, so that's the reason we have to specify some time here. But exactly, we are referring the condition. This guy is exactly waiting for his friend. But if this friend is not come within the time, then he'll wait for some time and then he will go back. It makes sense. The same thing is implemented in explicit wait. Okay, so this is how it will work. Now let me just clear it. And now here, advantages and disadvantages. So what is an advantage here is, basically it is waiting for the element based on the condition. If the condition is satisfied, then it will find the element and perform action. So here it is more stable, right? Because we have not specified any static time. We have not specified any static time, like wait for only this much of time, wait for only 5 seconds or wait for only 10 seconds. We are not saying that. So instead of, we are saying just condition, okay, until that element is available. So just wait for some time. And still if the element is not available, then consider this time and come out and execute the next statement. So that's how we are telling to the explicit wait. If the element is not available, after some time, come back and exit from the statement and continue with the rest of the statements. Right? So that's how explicit wait works. Okay. So here, one more important thing. Suppose if the element is not available within the 10 seconds or so, then what happens? Then what happens? Will it write exception just like implicit wait? If it is throws exception just like implicit wait, what is the difference between implicit wait and explicit wait? What is the use of this? So there are multiple things are here. So here, whatever the Webdriver class object we created with the only 2 parameters we created. Driver object we passed only 10 seconds, right? This is actually the basic syntax, very basic syntax. But now if you still want to handle that exception automatically without writing any try catch, it will also throw exception. Okay, but there is a choice or there is a chance of handling that exception automatically inside the explicit wait. But in case of implicit wait, we have to write the try catch blocks and everything. But here we don't have such thing. But how we can handle that exception? So we have to use some other syntax of Webdriver. Instead of doing this, this is actually basic syntax. We will just change the syntax. By passing these 2 parameters are fine. But apart from these 2 parameters, we should also pass some other parameters. What are those parameters? Ignore underscore exceptions. Ignore underscore exceptions. And here, what type of exceptions you want to ignore, you have to specify that. So here you have to specify what type of exceptions you have to ignore. No such element exception. And then what other exceptions? Element not visible exception. And what other exceptions? Element not selectable exception. So all these type of exceptions you want to ignore. You have to specify explicitly while creating the Webdriver instance. Sorry, while creating the explicit Webdriver. So this is additional parameter which we need to add. So then automatically, if that element is not available within the 10 seconds, still it will not throw any exception. It will handle that exception, then proceed with the next statement. So why it is giving an error here? Because we have to import the write package. So put the cursor, we have to import it. That's it. So this is the actual syntax. You can also write in multiple lines. Okay, so ignored exception, no such element exception, or element not visible exception, element not selectable exception. If you don't want to write multiple exceptions, just write only one thing, that is exception. That will able to handle all kinds of exceptions. If you write only this exception, you don't need all these things. Okay, so this is another way of declaring the explicit weight. And earlier we have not specified exceptions, but in that case, if you use this syntax, definitely it will throw some exception. But to avoid those exception, we have to just add one more parameter called ignore underscore exceptions and specify all the list of exceptions in the bracket and then close it. So this open bracket is closed here. And this is also parameter which contains a list actually. This is a list. List contains all the exception we specified here. So now, even though this statement is thrown some exception, that will be automatically handled and rest of the code will be executed. So that's how explicit weight works. And one more important thing is explicit weight also we have to insert multiple times. Suppose in 10 places, there is a chance of getting the synchronization problem. In all 10 places, we have to write the conditions because element will be different, because explicit weight works based on the element, not based on the time. So whichever element is taking more time to load on the pages, we need to go to in their places and we need to specify the proper condition and specify that element. So the explicit weight also we need to include multiple places. It is not a single statement. Only declaration we have to do only one time, but this object we will use multiple places like this. Suppose tomorrow if you have one more element, you have to write the same thing for one more element by just changing the condition whichever relevant to that area or in that situation. Okay, but explicit weight we have to insert in multiple places, but it is more effective than rest of the wait statement like time.sleep. Time.sleep, you cannot, you don't need to consider that. First of all, don't tell that entry. Just for your understanding, I'll tell you that, but you cannot, you don't consider that as a sleep statement. Okay, so just consider only implicit weight and explicit weights are the sleep statements. Okay, now if I just perform this, this will go as usual. So these things are helpful when you really working with the real projects, because you will have a dev environment, Q environment. So till that time, they will not go to the production, because whatever applications currently we are working, all are production applications. So you don't see any issues or synchronization problems anywhere. But in future, I will show you some applications while working with the different type of applications. Definitely we encounter those type of problems. That time again, I will show you how synchronization statement is handling that issue. Okay. So this is how we need to work with the wait statement. So explicit wait advantage is what? Advantage. So you need to just remember these advantages and disadvantages. In interest perspective, which is very advantage. It is more effective because which is also having exception handling mechanism inbuilt, right? So it will work more effectively. And also disadvantages, like people will feel some difficulty on this because multiple places we have to insert, right? Multiple places we need to insert the explicit weight, and people will feel some difficulty on it. When you compare with the implicit weight, explicit weight, people will feel some difficulty. Okay, so these are the few way statement: implicit weight, explicit weight. And in explicit weight, one more option is available. So we have seen two options: driver, maximum timeout, ignored exceptions, right? So apart from that, there is one more parameter also we can pass here, that is called pole underscore frequency. Pole underscore frequency. So here we can specify some seconds. So what is pole underscore frequency will do? So we specify here, this condition is waiting for the element. How much time it will wait? Maximum 10 seconds. And after 10 seconds, it will go and handle the exception and proceed with the rest of the statements. But this condition is waiting for the element. For every 2 seconds, it will go and poll it. What does it mean? Polling means what? Suppose, let's say 2 seconds. My maximum timeout is 10 seconds. and polling frequency is a 2. So then what happens is our WebDriver or explicit weight will always poll every 2 seconds, it will poll for the element like this. So first 2 seconds, it will go and fetch that element. If it is not available, it will wait for some time. And after 2 seconds, again, it will go and check. If it is available, then proceed with that. And still not available, it will wait for another 2 seconds. Then within the 10 seconds, totally 5 times it will poll. So for every 2 seconds interval of time, it will go and poll for the element. Poll is nothing but it will go and try to find that element. So this will make explicit wait faster. So instead of rigidly waiting for 10 seconds, right? So if I just poll for the element, if every 2 seconds like this, it will go and very faster and find that element. Okay, so this is the internal again mechanism which is there in the explicit wait. That is basically called poll underscore frequency. And this time should be lesser than maximum timeout. You have to split this maximum timeout into 3 or 4 pieces like this, and you can specify the time. So inside in 10, we have 2 5s we can specify. Like, so 5 times it will go and fetch the element. So this is how explicit wait works. This is exact declaration syntax. This is an advanced level. And we can manage with the 2 parameters also. This is a basic syntax, but if you want to handle the exception, you need to specify this. And if you want to make use of polling mechanism, so you have to specify another parameter. And actually, this is a complete syntax of explicit wait. That means declaration. But by using this object, again, we have to specify the condition by using until function. Until expected condition is this one and a locator. And one more important point is find element is not required to use here because we are already passing the locator to this method. So this method itself is waiting for this element. That means what? As soon as the element is available, it will able to find that element. As soon as it's found that element, the condition becomes true. As soon as condition becomes true, it returns the element. So finding element itself is happening inside the explicit wait. So for that reason, we no need to use find element method explicitly inside the explicit wait statement. Okay. So remember these points, and most important, especially interview people will ask many questions on these wait statements. You have to clearly explain advantages, disadvantages, and all these things. Okay. So this is all about wait statement, guys. So I'm just stopping here for today, and the rest of the concepts we will discuss in the next session.